is the Business of Reselling podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Oman. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 57 of the Business of Reselling podcast. I'm feeling kind of okay tonight, which I warned on the last podcast episode, which was a little dark, that I might be feeling better on the next episode, and that's true. But I have in front of me the Canucks game, and they're not losing yet, so that's a good thing. It's only 10 minutes into the first period, but they're not losing yet. And I have a lovely glass of a New Zealand Sauv Blanc that I never tried before, and it's delicious. And it was on sale at the liquor store, so it's a casual Saturday night for me while Johan plays hockey. So here I am doing a podcast episode for you. Still feeling a little bit doom and gloom about the business, so I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm going to focus on just a little discussion on whether, how long I'm willing to tolerate breaking even. October was another break-even month. It was our second since the de minimis was removed. So I guess that's a win. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that, how long we're willing to go just kind of running in the mud before we start making larger sweeping changes. As well as just a few things that are going on in the business and what I'm thinking about listing on .com versus .ca going forward. So maybe, I don't know if this is going to be a long one, but I just have a few things to share that are, that we're kind of working on in our world. So let's get right into it. It has been another month of break-even sales, well, break-even profits. We're not losing money yet. I think if I have energy tonight, I'm going to do a what sold in October video because I want to break down some of the specific items that are doing well for us right now in case you're curious about that. So stay tuned for that video as well. We started sourcing again, a little bit reluctant from my perspective. I feel like we should be paring down our warehouse inventory significantly right now because we might end up having to move out of the warehouse in a few months if things don't go well. And I want to be prepared for that. I don't want to have 2,000 square foot of inventory to move. I'd rather have like 500 square feet of inventory to move. However, as we all know, the sourcing is the fun part, and it's really hard to let that go as well. Bringing fresh new inventory into the store is something you can't really stop doing if you want to make money, and we have to make money. So it's a fine balance between, it's stopping. I don't want to stop sourcing altogether. But we also have a tendency to oversource. Anyway, we're back working with very big company again after a short break. So we are getting most of our inventory from the junk haulers, which is great because it's inexpensive. The downside, of course, is you have no idea what you're ever going to get on how much you're going to get when you do it. But we did find some cool things recently, just kind of some interesting leather purses and bags. We found some video game stuff. So it's been all right. Been finding some things that we think we can move relatively quickly. And we've had a couple of fantastic estate picks as well over the last couple of weeks, which is great because sometimes those can be pretty few and far between. But we've done well on those, and I'm going to talk a bit about that in the video if you decide to watch it. So I really want to be selling more than we're buying right now. That's not really happening. I think I said on the podcast last time that we were under 30 packages a week. We've managed to bump that up to just over 40 packages a week for the last 2 weeks, which is encouraging, although I think a lot of it is just kind of a fourth quarter Christmas shopping situation. So, I still feel like we're going to have a lot of work to do if we want to keep 40 plus packages going after Christmas. So I'm not going to get excited about 2 weeks of sales growing. I hope we get the next 2 months pretty strong. I'm sure it'll be nothing like the fourth quarters of the past, but hopefully we can keep some of that momentum going into the new year. I haven't exactly figured out how. But anyway, I'm a little bit more encouraged just by the sales volume that's been going out. I am doing some pretty deep discounts. I'm letting my old inventory go for a pretty low price. Again, that's part of the philosophy of trying to sell more than we buy. There's no reason to hold on to this stuff anymore, especially knowing that on basically every estate pick or collection buyout that we've ever had, we're in the profit. So, how much do I care about, getting as close to market value as possible on some of these items? I just don't. I just don't. I want them to go. So maybe that's it. Maybe I'm feeling a little more laissez-faire about pricing, and that's helping things and giving buyers deals. Cool. I'm all good with it. So I want to talk about ebay.com versus ebay.ca for a minute. So if you've been listening to the podcast since I rebooted things in September, um, I, along with many other sellers, made the decision to move almost all of my .com listings over to .ca and exclude the United States as a shipping destination. Now, with eBay International Shipping coming for Canada, the idea was, we could open back up to US shipping with the rollout of EIS, and then eBay would be calculating the tariffs and we wouldn't have to think about that. And potentially we could reopen a strong sales channel with the US. I was skeptical of it from the beginning, not just because I thought EIS would be a disaster, which it is, but just because, like, when we first started on eBay, we were listing on ebay.ca exclusively. And when we switched over to .com, our sales doubled. So I knew there was no way that we were going to get the volume of eyes on our listings on .ca as we would on .com, no matter what. So regardless of whether EIS is there or whether I'm excluding the US or not excluding the US, the facts are, no matter how easy we try to make it for the US buyers to buy from us, fewer of them are going to buy from us. And that was true 10 years ago on .ca, and it's even more true today because there's a lot more obstacles in place, such as eBay putting up like a little message when US buyers go to buy something that says that tariffs will have to be paid on receipt. I've already had lost a sale because of that messaging. No matter what I did to try and explain to that buyer that no, their shipping costs included the tariffs and they wouldn't be charged anymore, didn't matter to them. They believed the robot. And so eBay is kind of frustrating too, because I think some of these things are putting in place. Like, I get why they're doing it, why they're putting this message out there so that buyers get fewer surprises. But if our store has specifically developed shipping policies that cover those tariffs, like, we should be able to remove that banner from the listing. Um, where am I going with this? Yes. Okay. So I achieved the goal of moving just about all of my listings over to .ca from .com. So let me just give you some numbers here. So on eBay in total, we're now back up to 4,147 listings. I can't tell you how much work this was to move over almost every listing individually. Oh my goodness. Um, that's tough, but I did it. .com has 1,349 listings. The rest of those are on .ca. So I left all the comic books on .com, anything that was made in USA that I could really prove was made in the USA because it had a clear marked country of origin. I tried to put that back up on .com, and then I added a few more items up on .com that I could, like, incorporate the tariff amount because I knew what it was for that country or whatever. So so that's what I did. And I have still over 500 listings sitting in my unsold that I have not put anywhere yet. A lot of it is junk. I'm going to pull it out for the yard sale or the auction, or it's just stuff that, like, maybe the listing is just a really poor listing. It's been up for a long time and hasn't sold because it's a bad listing. Um, you know, there's a variety of reasons, but I'm probably at least half of what remains. I'm not going to relist on eBay at all. So what happened, and it's weird because it only started happening last week, so I don't know why. But last week, I started getting orders from US buyers off my .ca listings. Now, I did make one change. I did make one change to my shipping policies on eBay.ca, which was that I added that I would ship to the US, but I did not indicate a specific rate. So I wanted to experiment with the idea that US buyers could see my listings, and if they were really interested in something, they would write to me and ask what the shipping cost would be. Um, Instead of that happening, I started getting orders from US buyers on .ca. And when I looked into it, I saw that one of my shipping policies is allowing these sales and has a shipping amount attached to it. And I can't figure out why that one is allowing US sales and the other ship policies are not. I've compared the setup two or three times. They look the same to me. I just don't know what it is. So instead of like, oh, figuring out like I got to take this number away, so that the buyers can't buy, I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to go and figure out the price for a DDP label. And I'm going to look at the difference between that and the shipping amount that the US buyer paid. I'm going to write to the buyer and say, hey, here's the difference. Here's the tariff. Here's my PayPal. Let's do this. And 3 out of 4 times, this has worked. Only I had one cancellation yesterday. Um, so that's fine with me, honestly. So now I'm thinking I got to go to all my other ship policies and put some amount down, because if this is working and the buyers seem to be becoming more educated that there are tariffs and there's a willingness to pay them, well, why not? I mean, I'm going to allow US sales, and I'm not on the eBay International Shipping Program. I wouldn't go on it anyway because I think it's a mess. Uh, and this seems like it's gonna work out just fine. I know that, like, it's not gonna be the same volume of sales that we get from listing on eBay.com, but, I'm okay with this. And it seems to be working out, and the buyers have, for the most part, been quite friendly. So I started to think, gosh, did I waste my time moving all this stuff over to .com if I could have just incorporated the tariff rate into the ship policy on .com, since people seem to be buying off of .ca anyway? Well, the work is done, so I'm not going to undo it. And I still think that as a general strategy, if you're in the process of moving all your listings over to .ca, I wouldn't suggest stopping that. There's still lots of good reasons, especially if you want to get on the international shipping program, why you'd want to move those listings to .ca. But I'm pretty much going to not do that anymore. And if the item that I want to list has a clear country of origin marked on the product, I think I'm going to go back to listing on .com, and I'm just going to create as many shipping policies as I need to have the tariffs covered by the ship policy. And I'm assuming, although I'm not sure, I don't know if the US buyers would see the tariff warning if the listing was on .com. I actually don't know the answer to that. But you know what? This is what I'm going to do. So I haven't been doing a ton of listing photography over the past couple weeks, but I have started to adopt this new approach, and I've been starting to put more than just comic books and media on .com. So we'll see how that goes. If it's Canada specific or made in Canada, it's still going on .ca. If the country of origin is uncertain, I'm putting it on .ca, or I'm listing it on Poshmark or on Facebook Marketplace. I'm still a little bit leery about how to approach items that don't have a clearly marked country of origin. I'm okay with the idea of taking my best guess at it, but I can still see problems down the road, like if a buyer were to buy that and then all of a sudden I have to try and find a manufacturing address for an item and I don't know for sure where it was made, like that could cause problems. Um, so I'm still not exactly sure how I want to treat that. But for the most part, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Clear country of origin, it's going on .com. I'm going to find out what the tariff is. I'm going to make sure the US shipping rate covers it. Um, Canadiana, Canada-made stuff is gonna go on .ca. Anything that's, not clearly marked with the country of origin will probably go on .ca or on another platform, and, that's what I'm gonna do, and so if that means that I can revitalize US sales to, like, whatever degree, then that's great. I'm certainly not gonna complain about it. Still, we know that we won't get the same traffic off of .ca, and like I just said, out of my 4,147 listings, I only have just over 1,300 of those on .com. So that means we're talking about like 2,800-ish listings that are up on .ca. And if we were to do a quick comparison, I just want to talk about this for a second. So I want to just get to the sales traffic page on my eBay.ca and eBay.com stores, and I'm going to talk to you about a little comparison of the traffic here. So on .com, and we're just going to do last 31 days because that is the simplest. Traffic. Here we go. We'll just talk impressions because it doesn't really matter which one of these metrics I choose. I just want to show you the comparison of the numbers. So think about it again, about 1,300 listings on .com. My impressions over the last 31 days were 6.2 million. That is down 73% versus the prior 90 days. It is what it is. So 1,300 listings, 6.2 million impressions. If we go to .ca, we're talking about 2,800 listings, so more than 2 times as many listings. Impressions, 1.6 million. So it's like that's like 20%-ish of the impressions I'm getting on .com with less than half the listings. So when eBay tells you, "Oh, your .ca listings are still visible on .com," it's not that they're lying, but there is clearly an algorithm or a visibility obstacle on .ca. So that is what it is. So, when you're thinking about like, am I listing on .ca or .com? How am I going to do this? You will get more traffic on .com no matter what. But at this point, with so many US buyers turning away from buying from outside of the US, is that going to make a difference? Like, so I can get 6 million impressions, I'm probably not gonna get nearly as many buyers as I would have previously. And I wanna look at a few more months of data before I draw any conclusions on that. But if we're just looking at the general traffic alone, we can still see that .com is very likely to be a better platform than .ca for visibility overall. And my other theory is that international buyers from outside Canada or the US, primarily when they go to eBay to look for something, they go to ebay.com. That's what I think. The Canucks almost scored, but they did not. They did not score. Okay, so that's kind of the update on what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make this small shift. I'm still going to wait 3 or 4 more months before we make bigger decisions about what to do with the business. I want Q4 to wrap up, and maybe even push through January and February so that we can kind of get a sense of what normal might be, especially as US buyers get used to the tariffs, as the holidays pass, and as people maybe get back into some kind of routine. Then maybe I'll have a better understanding of what our average revenue is going to be, and then we can decide like, because break even, like, I can't do that forever. We're working really hard right now, and there's no point in breaking even. I mean, that doesn't like, if we're not profitable, like, we can, like, preserve what we have so far, but I can't do anything with that, Like, I can't take my profits out and, like, go on a vacation or, like, this business funds my lifestyle. Like, this is why I do it. It's not necessarily to have this incredible legacy, although, maybe that's something that could happen in the future. But ultimately, like, this is a tiny, tiny little business, a very typical mom and pop type of business, and this business funds the life that we wanna live. If it's not gonna do that anymore, then we have to make some sweeping changes to try and, get back to that point. So, Anyway, that's where things are at. Maybe a little bit less doom and gloom. Um, but I'm still feeling a bit nervous. I feel pretty satisfied that we're going to get through fourth quarter decently, maybe even slightly profitably, and that would be great. But I'm skeptical about what could happen after the holidays. That might be worse for the business. So all right, that's the update. How are you doing? Are you still preparing for Q4? What are you doing? .com listings, .ca listings? I want to know. Go to youtube.com/at Storage Warrior podcast and leave a comment there. And that's also where you will find the What Sold in October video, which I'm going to work on next. We'll see you next time.